Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Hot Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, the other Hot Patriot. And for today's episode, we are going to talk about Trump finally firing Pam Bondi as AG, and who should be the next Attorney General of the United States of America, as well as some local stuff here politically that's going on, and just the criminality going on nationwide is what it is right now. Just all kinds of shady stuff is what it is. So, yeah, basically, I'm just going to say it like it is. Pam Bondi should have never been AG to begin with. She had no business in that office. She had no business even being in Florida's AG's office after she pulled the red flag bullshit down there in 2018. After the, I was going to say Sandy Hook, but that's not what it was. It was Parkland shooting that happened because they let it happen. What it is, dude. It was all false flag shit down there. You can look into that. You can look into everything that led to that, basically, where there was I think it was over 50 different visits from feds and stuff that went to that school. In the months leading up to it, there was all kinds of kids that were from freshman to senior year, witnesses at the school during the attack that came out on camera later and were like, hey, there was literally multiple shooters here. It was not just one lone gunman and whatnot. And, of course, a bunch of those people ended up dead later on, is what it was, a year or two after that. And, mysterious car crashes and things like that, basically trying to cover up, obviously, they're the powers that should not be covering up their shit is what it is then. But, yeah, there's all kinds of fuckery going on there. And it was, I believe Rick Scott was the governor at the time. But it was Pam Bondi, who was the AG at the time, who was basically pushing for red flag laws like crazy. And, of course, Rick Scott got him signed the law. That's what it was in his, last couple months in office or something. That's what it was. And this is what pisses me off so much about how you will have people basically being like, oh, Ron DeSantis is such a fucking amazing governor there in Florida. It's like, is he, though? Because pretty sure if he was an amazing governor, number one, he wouldn't have helped mass murder a bunch of Floridians with COVID death shots. That's the first thing, obviously. Which is him going back in 2020, 2021, him skirting federal government and literally getting COVID, the Pfizer, the Moderna, etc. shots there for the old people of Florida to take, which has since killed a lot of them, is what it is. Because these drug manufacturers need to be put in the fucking ground, is what it is, dude, for real, for crimes against humanity, is what it is. And then, secondarily on that one, in 8 years as governor, Ron DeSantis has yet to repeal the red flag laws in Florida. So, yeah, is he really a great governor? I mean, he's done some good stuff. I'm not going to lie. He's done, good things. I'm not going to discredit that, obviously. But I'm going to call him out on shit he hasn't done. I'll criticize whoever the fuck I want to criticize. What it is. That's what's great about America. That's great about freedom of speech, freedom of expression is what it is there, dude. So that so many of these sites want to try to curtail is what it is now. But the whole point is that you have, yes, DeSantis has done good things for the state of Florida. He's done, passed good legislation there and stuff like that. But again, you would think in 8 years, if you actually gave a shit about the Second Amendment, you actually give a shit about people's rights down there that have been affected by the unconstitutional red flag laws and stuff like that, that you would have actually done something as governor to, if nothing else, I know that there is similar things to what the president does with the State of the Union things, where it is these governors every couple of years, or at least once a term anyway, will come out and do a State of the State is what it is there. And it's do an address. It's usually, as we used to call them back in the day, the three channels we used to have is what it is, or 3, 5, and 8 usually is what it was, which was the news stations here anyway. I don't know what they were in other states, honestly, but here in Ohio they were 3, 5, and 8 is what it is. And yeah, you basically had, your ABC, your NBC, obviously 3 was NBC, 5 was ABC, and then 8, I believe, was Fox, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then I believe we had 9 too, which was CBS at one point. So, anyway, but the entire point of the matter is, you would have these governors give addresses and stuff like that and be like, yeah, this is how the state's running. This is what we're going to do to improve it, whatnot, et cetera. There, and I don't know. I'm not sure if DeSantis has ever done that in his 8 years as governor there in Florida or not. But the whole entire point is, though, is that, yes, he's had 8 years in that governorship to, repeal red flag laws as the unconstitutional bullshit they are that have affected, tens of thousands of, if not hundreds of thousands of Floridians' gun rights at this point. I believe there's at least 10,000 people right now in Florida that do not have their gun rights that should. And it's because of, some kid saying some dumb shit on Xbox, on like some Call of Duty game or something like that. Or whether it be, somebody just spouting off of the mouth is what it is there. And now they've been red flagged is what it is, and they've had their guns taken from them. The problem with red flag laws in general, besides the fact that they break pretty much every single thing in the Bill of Rights, from the First Amendment to the Second Amendment to the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, Eighth Amendment, Ninth Amendment, 10th Amendment, and then, of course, the 14th Amendment as well, is that they are completely unconstitutional all the way around is what it is, dude. They are breaking, 8, 9, 10 different constitutional amendments in this country that are specifically here to protect our rights as citizens is what it is. That's the whole point, dude. When you look at actually, specifically the Bill of Rights, these were things that the government couldn't do. They couldn't trample on these things. But yet, what have we seen in the past, century or so in this country? We've seen exactly that. We've seen presidents, we've seen senators, we've seen congressmen, we've seen governors, we've seen state general assemblies, etc., all trample on our rights. Well, at the same time, committing insider trading, committing all kinds of embezzlement, doing all kinds of RICO Act stuff with money laundering, just all kinds of crime, just all the way around is what it is, dude. And I think that's why so many of us are so disgusted by all this shit, dude. And, going back to, obviously, the main topic here, which was Pam Bondi, you then had Pam Bondi, who would, honestly, when it comes to Trump, I could give or take this guy at this point, dude. Yeah, I voted for the dude in 2016, and then in 2020, and then in 2024. The thing of it is, though, is that my biggest gripe with Trump currently is he's obviously not following through on campaign promises. He's obviously not following through on, what we, the American people, want is what it is in most cases. And what we don't want is we don't want a red flag loving AG. We don't want a woman in Pam Bondi. And I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not trying to say that the AG shouldn't be a woman or whatever the case be. I'm trying to say Pam Bondi herself should never be an AG is what it is there. Because we don't want somebody like this in power who is cool with restricting rights, number one. And then secondly, has done everything possible that she can do to protect pedophiles. The people on the Epstein files. She's done everything she can to either curtail the release of the Epstein files unredacted, or she's done all kinds of shady shit to distract away from that. And it's not just her either, for that matter, because you have people like Harmeet Dillon, who is the, I believe, assistant AG right now. And you have people, American people, obviously, and people from, across the world, basically, at this point, who have criticized Bondi's handling of the whole thing. And meanwhile, while you have American citizens criticizing this stuff, you have piece of shit Harmeet Dillon, who is going out of her way to then back up Bondi and be like, oh, no, you just don't understand how things work and how we as lawyers have to do. No, bitch, we fucking do understand. We understand that pieces of shit like you are fucking over the American people is what it is. And this is the problem. When you are actively protecting people who are literal goddamn demons who are eating children. That's one thing that we have learned from the Epstein files, by the way. These sick fuckers would hold parties and eat babies, dude. They would literally consume human flesh of newborns, pretty much. It is fucking insane, dude. And this is why I've said for the past, 7 to 10 years, more or less, that we are literally in a demonic evil war right now. We are fighting demons. We are fighting literal demons. And when you look at people like your, Hakeem Jeffries types and stuff like that specifically, there's no way that guy's not a crossroads demon, dude, for real. Like, I truly believe, honestly, like what's happening right now in Hollywood in the past, like 15 to 20 years or so, give or take, it's them creating TV series and stuff like that, and basically showing the American people and everybody else is watching this, whether it be in UK, whether it be any other country for that matter, they're showing you exactly what's really happening in the real world is what it is, but they're pushing it as entertainment is what it is there, because what better way to do that and quote unquote spellcast, because that's what they're doing, honestly, than when they're doing the whole broadcasting is what it is there. It's all witchcraft, dude. It's all spellcasting is what it is. And when you realize that, and you realize all of this stuff, you realize that they're pushing their own agendas, and they're basically admitting what they're doing to try to make their spells more powerful is what it is there. So you have witchcraft, you have demonology, etc. that are going on everywhere. And yeah, of course, these people that are in on it are going to protect the other ones is what it is. And that's exactly what PM Bondi is, dude. I guarantee, like, I'm not saying she herself was like, consuming human flesh for children and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised by it, honestly. If it did come out someday. Now, granted, that being said, will it ever come out someday? Who the fuck knows at this point, honestly. But that's the entire point, dude. Like, people want justice. People want, these sick fuckers minimum put away, if not executed publicly, honestly. And when you're not doing that, and you're failing to do anything else for that matter, when you're failing to protect Second Amendment rights, and you're actively attacking Second Amendment rights in this country, as the Attorney General, you can fuck right off is what it is then. And so, yeah, my understanding is, from what I was looking on X here about 20, 30 minutes ago now, it seemed like the main reason that Trump actually fired Bondi was not because she was a complete piece of crap EG is what it is. It was because she was apparently leaking information to Eric Swalwell's ass about various things that he then turned around and tried to use on Trump is what it is then. And yeah, it's a bunch of fuckery like that now. And there's talk of different people that potentially could be replacing Bondi. Obviously, Lee Zeldin, who is the head of the EPA right now, there's talk of him possibly being the nominee or whatever. I disagree with that completely, honestly. If you're going to put somebody else in there, dude, this is my thing. Like, Trump, when he was running for 2024, he made promises about protecting Second Amendment rights. If he really wants to do that, the person he will put in power should be a pro-2A guy at this point. It should be any head of any organization or any lawyer of any of the gun organizations right now, whether it be Gunners of America, whether it be Firearms Policy Coalition, whether it be some other gun group for that matter. Obviously not the NRA, because they suck, is what it is. They've done nothing to ever help the American people. They've done everything they can to basically fuck over our rights and water them down and stuff like that to continue on as an organization and continue to fleece the American people for money is what it is every single year. But the entire point is, we need somebody like one of these FPC lawyers that continue to, go to court, make these lawsuits happen, win these cases, help protect the Second Amendment, help restore gun rights in anti-gun states, etc. That's what it is. Or we need somebody like the president of Gunners of America or somebody like that's what it is. That knows what the fuck they're doing is what it is, man. Because I truly believe that these people, like any of those kind of people like that, would be a good person, honestly, to be AG. Now, granted, that being said, you could actually have Brennan Herrera step out of the congressional race that he's probably going to win now is what it is, and just simply appoint him as Attorney General. And then you just have to have another race there in Texas, is what it is now, to replace that, to replace basically him as nominee there in the Republican Party. So, I don't know, it's hard to say, but, like, I feel like there's people right now, like, and the only reason I don't Brandon Herrera, obviously, is because he is pro-2A and he has done, a lot of good for Second Amendment rights in this country is what it is then, without being part of one of these orgs is what it is there. But yeah, we definitely need somebody here that actually gives a damn about our rights is what it is, man. And it needs to be somebody that has sat there and continually fought. Brain's kind of need to eat something here for lunch pretty soon. Or like an early dinner, one of the two. I feel like I'm becoming like an 80-year-old man one of these one of these days soon because I'm having like 4 and 5 o'clock dinners now is what it is. But anyway. Oh, by the way, for those interested, I had a date yesterday with the neighbor chick. It went pretty well. I'm gonna try and get another one going here either this weekend or sometime next week is what it'll be then. So, and whether it be us going out and doing something, or whether it just be, me taking some stuff to her place, maybe cooking dinner for her is what it is, or something. So, all depends. But yeah, she's trying to get her stuff together right now because I informed her yesterday, and she apparently didn't know this, that you got to pay. The one thing about these apartments is the only thing covered is the trash. You got to pay for water, sewer, and you got to pay for electricity is what it is there. And she didn't realize that about the water bill, and I was like, yeah, you got to get that taken care of so you don't get your water shut off here in the next couple weeks of it is then. And apparently she told me that she had one of these overhead lights that are in the kitchen area here. She was telling me that there was a issue with hers over there, and she was trying to figure out how to get the fixture off to replace the light bulbs there. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. You need to call me. This is what it is. And I gave her me and this guy's number. She apparently already had it. I didn't realize that. And she apparently tried to call him, and he just hasn't gotten back there is what it is then. Which makes sense. I mean, he's got a whole business he's doing now on the side besides working for the landlord here is what it is. So I guarantee that these apartments are taking like a backseat is what it is for repairs and whatnot. And he's doing other jobs to make money for himself is what it is then. But that's exactly why that's exactly if you're going to be a landlord in some place, you need to have like an actual maintenance guy or a couple maintenance guys or something on staff is what it is then. So you can have like a 24/7 maintenance type of deal or whatever. You can just call that number or whatever then, and it just connects to one of those dudes or whatever then. But yeah, so that is what it is right now. But that being said, let's see, I was trying to thought that for a minute. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about AG though, we need to have somebody that cares about the 2A is what it is. We need to have somebody that's an actual oath keeper that gives a shit about the Bill of Rights is what it is. That isn't going to trample on our rights, isn't going to sit there and try to restrict our constitutional rights. It actually is going to do things a good way and potentially would be expanding Second Amendment rights by, first of all, finally getting rid of the NFA for the 90-something years it's been in place right now. As the unconstitutional piece of shit it's been since 1934 is what it is there. Like seriously, it's been like 92 years now of unconstitutional infringements upon the Constitution right now, specifically the Second Amendment of the Constitution right now. And yet in 9 decades, we have not had a overturning of the NFA, which is absolute bullshit, dude. And what pisses me off, and this is kind of the thing that pisses me off about Trump, honestly, is it was about maybe 6 months ago or so, 8 months ago, something like that. It was within the first few months of his secondary term as president, here's what it is, that he basically came out and was like, oh, we need the NFA because it's all about tax revenue. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, here's a wild idea. Get all the wasteful spending in check, bro. Like, bring back Doge, seriously, and deal with this shit. Or here's a wild idea. Quit raising the fucking debt ceiling. It's like we were talking about Honest Chat the other day. You had, and I actually thought it was around 9/11 that we first did the debt ceiling rising, but apparently it was around the housing market crash of 2008, which, ironically enough, going back to the Epstein file stuff, all of that ties back to Jeffrey Epstein, for that matter, because he was the one that was basically pushing for the QE1 back in 2008 during house market crash stuff. So it's very interesting when you have, as I like to call them, these power brokers of society that are these like linchpin types who seem to be connected to all of this shit. And it's like basically this weird spider web where you have like the main spider web and you have like the tentacles going out of it and stuff, or like the strings to like other little smaller webs is what it is there. And when you start looking into people like Michael Bloomberg and stuff like that, it's the exact same way as what it is, where you will have, your main Bloomberg hub of every town is what it is there. And then you got all these little spider webs that'll go out to other organizations like Moms Demand Action, Students Demand Action, the Brady Campaign, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's the biggest issue right now when you have these billionaires, which for those who don't know about Michael Bloomberg, how he actually made his money there. This dude was doing all kinds of shady ass criminal shit. Specifically, he was doing short selling of stock, which made him literally a billionaire in the time span of like a decade or so is what it is. Maybe even less than that. And mind you, this is the same asshole who will sit there and walk around. You have an SUV and there'll be like another SUV behind it. There'll be about 8 to 10 armed guards at all times is what it is there. And yet he wants to talk about, everyday Americans, gun rights, and how our rights should be restricted with gun magazine capacity limitations and stuff like that. And then obviously wants to go on the whole, like, I don't know if you guys ever saw that interview or not, but he did that stupid ass interview. It was about maybe like a decade and a half ago now, where it was, or it might have been when he was mayor of New York City, is what time or whatever. So it would have been like 2005-ish or so, give or take, maybe. So it would have been like more like 20-ish years ago now. Where he was basically talking about hunting and was like, oh, if you can't kill a deer with 3 shots, you're a terrible shot. And it's like, the entire point of the Second Amendment was not about hunting, you fucking retarded faggot piece of shit. It was about killing tyrants, literally, dude. It was about keeping tyrants in check to where if they ever got out of hand, that we the people could rise the fuck up and take back power from them is what it is. By force. That's exactly why when you actually look at the Second Amendment and how it was written by our founding fathers, it was that you would have the American people have the exact same weaponry as that of the American government. And that's the biggest gripe I have right now is what it is, because that's not even the case anymore. It hasn't been the case for pretty much a century now is what it is. Really since the NFA was enacted, because well, I guess even back then you didn't really have like full things either, because that was when they started doing tanks and planes and everything else back in those days then. Whereas, I as an American citizen or you as an American citizen, we can't go out there and buy an F-16 or an F-22 or whatever it is with full, weaponry on it, whether it be, fully loaded missiles, or whether it be the fully loaded things with the actual ammo on them is what it is there. I don't know if that's actually called like a secondary weapon around there though, but yeah, it's like you can't buy those things is what it is. I mean, you can buy, I'm sure you could probably buy that plane, obviously, even enough money, but like it's not going to have any armament on is what it is there. And the same thing with a tank, you can buy a tank, but you can't buy the, various shells and stuff to put in it to fire off them. Or you can't go to a gun shop and buy a bunch of grenades or RPGs and stuff like that. So it's kind of bullshit, honestly, dude, when you start looking into it. Now, granted, that being said, do I think that, like, every single American should have access to that kind of stuff? I think we can see what happens when criminals have access to crazy shit. And we can talk about that all day long, honestly. But that's another thing, too, by the way, is that you'll have all these criminals do all these crimes with guns right now is what it is. And you'll have these monster main action types or these every time types, etc. there. Giffords is another great example, obviously. Well, they'll sit there and be all like, oh, but look at all this crime and stuff like that. But they never actually admit to the fact that when you start to actually break down who is committing all the crime, it is literally, in most cases, a bunch of YNs, honestly. A bunch of career criminals that were let off like 30, 40 times by some piece of shit judges due to some inequity justice crap, whatever the fuck they want to call it now is what it is. It's really just a bunch of DEI hired horseshit is what it is there. And they'll let this person who has, like I said, like literally longer than my fucking arm felonies, all convictions and stuff like that, let them back on the streets again. And then what do? They kill people like Irina Zarutskaya. They kill people like the chick on the train in Chicago, etc., etc. For those who don't know about that story, it was about a month or two ago now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It was this black guy who had been arrested, I think it was like 60 times or 70 times or something like that since 96. So it was literally like 30 years now. And he was basically a career arsonist. This piece of shit judge that was sentencing this dude was told by the DA, they're like, this guy is a violent criminal. He is a violent person. He will do another crime if you let him back out. And the judge is like, nope, he's let out again now. And within a day and a half or 2 days of that, he went to a gas station, filled up, I think it was like a 20-ounce water bottle, walked onto the subway trains there in Chicago, went over to some white girl, sprayed a bunch of fucking accelerant on her, and then lit her on fire. And it's like, and you see this shit keep happening, and it's like, dude, like, this is why people like me then have to go to the opposite extreme and be like, not only do we need 3 strikes laws, we need like 1 strike death penalty. This is what it is, bro. Like, if you do something so horrible that you've taken a life like that, taken an innocent life like that, like, you just need to die on the spot is what it is, bro. Like, you need to put the fuck down like the goddamn animal you are is what it is. So, anyway. And that's kind of what we need in AG, honestly, right now is what it is. We need somebody in the Attorney General's office. I'm not saying we need like a 94 crime bill 100% is what it is again, but we need something similar to that being enacted again, dude, is what it is. Because that was the one thing like that. And, you know, as much shit as I'll give to the Democrat Party and specifically Joe Biden, et cetera, there, dude, like the one time in history that Biden almost got it right was in 1994 with the crime bill. Because the only issue I had with, obviously, it was over policing at that point in some cases, because they allowed for like misdemeanor wheat crimes to be like life sentences essentially, and I'm not okay with that, obviously. But at the same time, it also helped lock up a bunch of repeat offenders permanently, and you had a bunch of these people sitting in jail for decades of their lives that deserve to be there is what it is. And because of that, we had a nice time period in my childhood where there really wasn't a whole lot of crime in these cities. Like, it was very reduced at that point. Like, you could basically walk around like New York City and not have to deal with that kind of crap, obviously, dude. And it was interesting, you know, it was good times, obviously. And unfortunately, you know, that's changed now because we keep letting these judges remain in power when they're letting off these career criminals is what it is, dude. When in reality, they should be sentencing these career criminals to the death penalty is what it is, man. They should be sentencing them to death is what it is. They should be put on death row for death penalty is what it is there. For the various amounts of crimes they've committed already is what it is. And if we actually had that be a reality again, if we actually had, you know, strong preventions and we actually had strong enforcement of the law is what it is, we wouldn't have to deal with a lot of these issues. And you wouldn't have these Mama's Man action types have these fucking criminal stats that they keep using to try to strip the rest of us of our gun rights is what it is, man. And it's like, no, I'm not going to be lumped in as a gun owner with some fucking piece of shit YN who is literally running around breaking into cars and stealing guns out of people's vehicles. I am a person that will purchase my guns legally through FFLs or through private sales, whichever it is there. It doesn't really matter because Ohio obviously has that is what it is there. But the entire point is, you know, most of the guns I've gotten here in the last 5 or 6 years now have all been through FFLs. So it is specifically the same FFL up there in Canton, which is a Finn. The Finn is what I call it, obviously. That's what they call it too. It's obviously a larger name, but you know, it's the I'll just take the name, but obviously it's called Finn Feather Fur Outfitters. It's an Ohio chain here that's been here since basically the year I was born in '85. And it has, I believe, it's either 6 or 7 locations now across the state. It's mostly up in like the upper part of like, I think it's like Cleveland area down through like Stark County where I'm at right here is what it is now. And I want to say there's maybe like one over on the other side of the state or something like that then too. But yeah, it's a nice place. They've been employee owned since like, I think 2003 or 4 is what it is now, where you can basically, if you become a full-time employee there, you can actually buy into a pathway to basically become part owner of the stores, what it is then. So that's really nice, honestly. And it's interesting too, because you have all these communist people out nowadays who are talking about like, oh, you know, they're like, oh, we just need to seize the means of production and stuff like that. It's like, Or you could do it the right way, like I just mentioned a minute ago, where you have a company, be created by someone, and then it just gets turned into an employee-owned company where you can buy your way into being a part owner of that company is what it is there. So you're not seizing the means of production per se. You are buying your way into it is what it is, and learning and having experience of how to run this business at the same time is what it is there. As a management type, etc. there. As part owner is what it is there. So, if you really want to implement something like that is what it is, dude. Like, that's how you need to be is what it is right now. So, but, yeah, while we're down that road, actually, let's talk about corporate greed for a minute now. So when I was out yesterday on my afternoon date, there's what it was. We ended up going to Dairy Queen. It's insane to me, dude. They have a 2 for $5 thing there. It was 2 chicken strips and then like this small ass thing of fries that was like yay big. I got a small blizzard that was probably about that big, give or take, and about the like upper size width of the cup or whatever it is here. Actually, maybe not quite that big. Maybe about like right here. So it'd be about maybe that thick, and then about like that wide around. It was over $5 for that fucking blizzard, dude. I remember back in the day when I was growing up in like the mid 2000s and stuff like that, dude. The largest blizzard was under $5. It was like 4 something. So the fact that you're having the smallest one now be like $5.29 and like I think the largest one's like almost $8 fucking dollars. That's fucking nuts, dude. You're talking about ice cream and some Reese's cup in the shit. It's like fucking Looney Tune town at that point, dude. And again, it goes back to this corporate ass greed is what it is, dude. Because it would be one thing if they're actually paying the employees an actual living wage at that point at these different fast food places like that, but they're not. They're paying them minimum wage, and you have these corporate greedy ass CEOs that are making millions and millions of dollars every single day throughout every single one of those chains is what it is. And then they're getting $1 billion bonuses every single year is what it is, dude. And you even had, I think it was McDonald's CEO. Or maybe it was Wendy's. I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was McDonald's, though, in the past few months now is what it is. They specifically admitted, they're like, yeah, we're going to keep raising prices until people stop buying the shit is what it is, basically. Until we can fleece you for how much we know we can fleece you for is what it is there. And so, yeah, this is why I don't like to support these kind of chains as it is, bro, because it's not worth it, honestly, what you're getting. Because what you're getting is like $2 to $3 worth of food for like 2 or 3 times that's what it is now. Or more even in some cases. Or I guess technically it would be food, quote unquote. Because so much of this stuff is not food. It's chemicals. It's not like food is what it is now. And that was another thing, too, that came out here recently was Hershey's. It was the grandson of the Reese's Cup creator that came out and was like, yeah, these are disgusting now. And you realize they're all made with like oil and shit now. It's not even like real chocolate anymore. It's just a bunch of oil-based crap made to look like chocolate is what it is there. So it tastes like garbage, basically. And then you had in the last couple of days now, it was Hershey's come out and be like, well, we're going to start using real chocolate in our food again now. And it's like, well, what the fuck have you been using since then, dude? Like, the hell, bro? Seriously, it's ridiculous. But anyway. My biggest gripe, honestly, with everything right now is that we're allowing monopolies to exist in our country and not just trust busting the shit out of these places what it is, dude, because that's another thing the AG should be doing, by the way, is when you have like 10 to 20 maximum giant conglomerations controlling our entire food supply pretty much, it's ridiculous, dude. Like, there's no way that you should have like anywhere from like 10 to 20 companies be able to monopolize and control the food supply and be able to buy up other smaller companies. That's another thing too, by the way, like all this organic stuff that's on the food shelves and stuff like that right now in grocery stores, like most of that stuff isn't even owned by the original owner, the original people that made this what it is now. because it was bought anywhere from like a year ago to like 5 years ago now is what it is. And so you end up having the situation now where what should be, good organic food and stuff like that has now been corporatized and is just all kinds of full of chemical garbage is what it is, bro. And I think that's my biggest gripe across the board with any kind of politician right now is what it is, dude, because when you look at other countries, whether it be the UK, whether it be, Germany, whether it be Japan, etc., there, all of these countries have banned these food dyes. They've banned all of these fucking chemicals and stuff like that out of their foods. They're literal chemical poison that's giving people cancer and stuff like that, and other various health problems and stuff like that. But yeah, the United States of America will not do that. Why? Why are we not doing that, dude? Seriously. You should be able to go to a store here in America and buy a loaf of bread, and that bread starts molding in 3 or 4 days maximum. You shouldn't go to a store, buy a loaf of bread, have that bread sit on a shelf for like a month or two, and it still is not it still is not molding. And then you can put that same bread under a fucking sink faucet, spray it full of water, rinse it out like a sponge, and basically reform it back to its original shape. That is not food. That is chemical fucking garbage being put into people's systems right now. And that's exactly why so many Americans have these gluten intolerances and stuff like that. It is because of all the chemical shit that's being put into our bread and stuff like that. It's not that you're allergic to the bread. You're allergic to whatever the fucking additives are that are being shoved into it to make it be preserved for like 2 months or whatever the fuck it is then without going bad. And that's one thing that's of all these giant corporations out there, like your Walmarts and your Costco's and everything like that now, the one thing I will give Walmart is that their French bread is still actual bread. Like it will actually go moldy in like 4 days maximum usually. And it will go stale in like whatever the expiration date on it is. Like it'll usually about meet that date, and it'll go, it's either that day or it's either the next day where it'll start going stale is what it is. Then I know that for a fact because I recently had a loaf of that bread sitting here in the apartment that I was eating on. And it was, I think, the 29th is when it was supposed to go for its like expiration date or whatever. And I was still eating it on the 30th is what it is there. And I noticed that the top part of it was still kind of good, but the bottom half of it had gone all like hard and crusting up basically is what it is there. And sort of going stale is what it was. And I noticed that before with like some of that bottom of there previously where I didn't realize the date on it then. Like it just started molding before I even got a chance to eat it then. So yeah, with that one I will give them that was what it is, where like what they're selling in the deli there, or sorry, what they're selling not the deli, what they're selling in the bakery there is still actual food. At least for the most part anyway. I mean there could be some chemical additives in it for all I know, but at least they're not enough to where it's like not allowing it to not mold is what it is, dude. So, but anyway. So yeah, we need somebody we need a lot of somebody's in power now is what it is, dude. We need to basically, this year in America really just needs to be the year that all incumbents are the fuck out effectively is what it is, dude. And bringing people are put in place there is what it is. In various primaries, etc. there. Because when you can have something like 75 to 85% of federal government right now currently in power be voted out for life, and this is the first time in like 50 something years that we've had that amount of people be able to get voted the fuck out at once. Now is the time to do that. Now is the time to kick all these motherfuckers out of office for good. Have younger generations of people come in and take their places that actually give a crap about the society. Because we're going to be the ones still living here in 5 years when these fuckers are dead in the ground and stuff like that are in power for the past like 50 years now. And yeah, it's time for, the old guard to get the fuck out and time for the younger generation to take over that are actually good people again. It's time to go back to that quote about young men in old men in trees. You guys might remember that quote. I'm going to pull it up here real quick just so I don't get it wrong again on it. Because I remember the gist of it. It's just my mind is so all over the place anymore. Yeah, as the quote goes, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they will never sit under. And that's exactly what it is right now. We need to have that again. We need to have the old men planting the trees whose shade they will never sit under. And it's time for them to get the fuck out. And it's time for the younger generation to take over what it is, dude. You know, really, when you look at it, the average age of Congress at this point should be 55 maximum, give or take, maybe 60 at the oldest. But yet instead, the average age of Congress and Senate right now is like 75, 80, something like that. It's fucking insane. It's a goddamn nursing home is what it is, dude. And when you start looking into that shit, and you start realizing that how many of these people are on various Alzheimer's and dementia drugs through the pharmacy that exists there in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. It's like, why are we allowing this to go on, dude? Like, why are we not, and another thing, like, why are we not having election audits every single election right now, dude? There are so many of these people that have been illegally stealing power in this country for decades who should be in a prison cell for the rest of their worthless lives, is what it is. But yet we're not dealing with this shit. And that's another thing, too, the AG should be dealing with, honestly, is all that kind of stuff. You know, maybe not the AG themselves, but the AG's office anyway, at a federal level. Like, the entire point of an attorney general is to actually get the fucking shit done to deal with crime, to deal with criminals. So, yeah. I think, honestly, we just need, like, a 1776 tile to a reset at this point, honestly, dude. Because, truthfully, that's all it's going to take at this point, honestly, dude, is, like, we don't need that globalist reset bullshit they keep trying to put in place. What we need is an actual, like, revolutionary style reset back to the founding pillars of this country, which would be the Bill of Rights. And until that happens, nothing's really going to change, I believe. So, will it happen in my lifetime? I kind of hope so, honestly, at this point, but who knows? Just all depends. So, but yeah, I don't know who's going to be the next AG. Hopefully it's not some fucking corporate crony of Trump again. Hopefully it's actually somebody good. But I don't know. Lee Zeldin, I could give or take that dude. And that's another thing too, by the way, for those who don't know. Lee Zeldin should be the governor of New York right now, is what it is, dude. He was 100% fucked over in 2022 by Kathy Hochul and Democrat Party committing voter fraud to basically steal the governorship from him, is what it was then. And this is the issue that I have with all these people, because they will never contest these races. They will never call out the blatant voter fraud going on in these states. And they will never do anything to actually fix the problem. Because in most cases, they either A, don't give a shit, or B, are actually in on it in a lot of cases, where they are sitting there fucking around and fucking around and fucking around some more. And they're benefiting from basically embezzlement in a lot of cases, what it is there, whether it be through insider trading or whether it be through taking bribes and stuff to, you know, just walk away and do something else, or whatever the case be now. And I believe truthfully, and I'm looking at it right now, I just realized I gotta do something real quick here a second. Should be done. Okay. Yeah, I need to publish the thing in our secondary open channel. So earlier today, Ohio governors put out a video that they claim was a live stream at the time or whatever on Facebook, which I think was actually like a premiere thing that Chris Dorr had done with Ohio Treasurer candidate Jay Edwards, who was in the General Assembly, was until last year, and he was termed out, and now he's trying to run for AG or not AG. He's trying to run for treasurer of the state right now, and there's a lot of good stuff that needs to be discussed in that one. It's about 32 minutes of the interview there, and I really wish Dora would actually do something to where he would actually do the stuff and give the people a chance to see it on like X or some other platform what it is there. But he'll only do it on like Facebook for some stupid ass reason. So it's like that dude's like stuck in like 2010 or something like that when he moved here is what it is. But it is what it is. So I'm gonna go post the link on the on our X page right now to that if anybody wants to watch it. Because Jay is pretty much who should be treasurer of Ohio after the May primary. Here's what it is, and the general election come November. Because he's one of the few people in this state that actually give a fuck about dealing with the fraud and corruption going on here, whether it be the Somali terrorists, whether it be everybody else taking embezzlements and stuff like that. And I've talked about that ad nauseum a couple times now. That we definitely need to have exposures of all this stuff and deal with these people and do mass deportations of all these motherfuckers with this then. Because when you are openly robbing the American people blind and stealing from us like crazy, no, we should not be paying 30, 40, 50% of our paychecks out in taxation and stuff like that, dude. Especially when it was like a month or I think it was like 2 months ago now or so, give or take. It was a congresswoman, I forget her name, it was offhand. But they were doing, I think it was some kind of committee hearing there in Congress, and she ended up getting her time to speak, like the 2 minutes where they give them there is what it is. And she straight up admitted that she was looking into the stuff and figured out that at least 50% of all taxation being given by American people to the federal government right now is unaccounted for, cannot be accounted for whatsoever. So it's either fraud and abuse, or it is complete wasteful spending, and it cannot be tracked, is what she was basically saying. And it's like, yeah, why the hell are we paying so much in taxation? That's what it is, dude. Like, until every single dime of the money that we're being forced to pay out in taxes can be accounted for, we should not be paying taxes, what it is, really, honestly. We should not be funding wars for Israel, etc., either, for that matter. So but yeah, I'm gonna do a whole endorsement spree tomorrow of various candidates here in Ohio. Most likely, Jay Edwards is running for treasurer. Will be on the list of endorsements for us at Ohio Patriot Education Network here, just because I do want to see if he actually does keep his promises he's making right now, is what it is. And given the other people that are in the race, it's just a bunch of scumbag fucking establishment douchebags as it is. They don't give a fuck about our rights and everything else for the matter, or care to investigate, obviously, the fraud and embezzlement going on in the state. And I think it's because they're probably part of the fraud and embezzlement going on in the state, because when you start looking into it, and you look at Ohio's specific to your budget for the past, between last year and this year currently, it was like $110 billion or something crazy like that, dude. And what's crazy is, when you look at Florida, who has triple our population, they had a similar to your budget. So it's like, really, where the hell is like $55 billion going in wasteful spending, fraud, etc., that isn't being accounted for here in Ohio? And that's why I've said for a while now, like really ever since Doge became a thing federally, we need 50 state Doges, dude, is what it is. Like, you need to have like several dozen people, if not a couple hundred people, being paid to literally investigate fraud and abuse, embezzlement, etc. there. And any politician that's caught up in it, dude, immediately removed from office for life. They're kicked the fuck out. They're arrested. They're charged with various crimes. They are banned for life from her holding office ever again. And we start dealing with the fucking problems as they see right now is what it is, dude. And we take this country back that way is what it is. And we deal with all the fuckery like that. And I think a lot of that fuckery starts by getting one of the visa programs and stuff like that, and birthright citizenship for that matter. These anchor-babies have no business on our soil. These fucking third world invaders from India, etc. there, that are being brought in by H-1B visas and shit like that have no actual skill sets whatsoever, and they're buying literal degrees in India to claim that they're doctors and shit like that when they're not. Enough is enough of this stuff. It's time to send their fucking asses back for good and deal with the issues at hand right now is what it is, dude. And I guarantee if we actually dealt with these issues here right now, we would be such a better country at the end of the day. We wouldn't have the crazy inflation we have right now on food and everything else for that matter. We wouldn't have insane rent prices everywhere. We could fix so much of these issues with like a 1-2 punch is what it is. And a lot of it starts with mass deportation is what it is, bro. And it really needs to be get the fuck out or get shot, honestly. Like it needs to be armed military being like at gunpoint, be like, get the fuck out and go. And if you refuse to go, then, you know, it's up in the air after that then. So, but yeah, for real, like it's time to get shit done, man. And it really is time for gunpoint tyranny, mass deportation kind of stuff is what it is there, dude. So, and that's my biggest problem with Trump, honestly, in a nutshell right now, is like he was bullshitting about being like dictator for a day is what it is. It's like, no, dude, you need to fucking like drop the hammer fist for like 2 months is what it is. And don't give 2 shits is what it is. Anybody has a problem with it, they can fuck off too is what it is then. You know, like all these people that are out there doing these no kings retardation things and stuff like that and being like, oh, we don't need no kings here, whatever the case be. And it's like, y'all are fucking stupid. We all know you're paid for by like 500 corporations that are taking in like 30 or 40 billion, or no, sorry, it's like 300 or 400 billion dollars is what it is there, to pay your asses off to do this crap. And it's like, it's not organic at all, dude. It's 100% just a bunch of commie bullshit. Most of it's funded by fucking China. And enough is enough of it, dude. It's time to get rid of all these fucking Chi-Com sleeper cells in our country. It's time to get rid of all these Islamic terror sleeper cells in our country. It's time to deal with the fucking threats to our nation from inside of it. It's time to have boots on the fucking ground here in America for once. And I know we can do it, honestly, because, yes, technically, there is the Third Amendment to the U.S. Constitution about not quartering soldiers and stuff like that, and not having, like, basically boots on the ground here in America as, like, a standing army. However, there are also War Powers Act stuff that have actually been enacted since then that technically, if you declared martial law in America, which is what needs to be done at this point, or an insurrection for that matter, which could also be done, whether it be the Insurrection Act or whether it be the War Powers Act, either one or both being enacted at the same time, we could basically have a situation where you could have military boots on the ground, dealing with the problem, getting rid of the problem in a swift, quick motion over the time span of a few days, maybe a few weeks, a couple months at most is my guess. If done correctly, obviously, if not done correctly, it would be probably a couple of years, honestly. So who knows what it is there. But the whole point is, though, is that we need to have this country be an American nation again. Right now, it's not an American nation. It is a nation that is being invaded daily by foreign nationals who don't give 2 shits about the American Constitution, who want to enact Sharia law, who want to push for unconstitutional gun bans like that fucking piece of shit in Virginia who's from Bangladesh originally. And again, it goes back to that stuff too. Like, why the fuck are we allowing foreign nationals to hold any political power in our country? Why are we allowing the children of illegals to hold power in our country, like that Delilah Ramirez bitch, who has literally admitted in the past year that she's Guatemalan before she's American? Deport her fucking anchor baby ass with her piece of shit fucking family back to Guatemala. It's that simple, dude. Kick her ass out of Congress for life. Do the same thing with Ilhan Omar. Throw her fucking ass back to Somalia where she belongs. Her fucking child soldier ass should never been allowed in this country at the age of 12 because she literally helped kill American soldiers in Somalia during Black Hawk Down. Enough is enough of this crap, dude. And the same thing with pieces of shit like Charlotte Lee, for that matter, dude. She is all about Islam. She hates America. Her family, I believe it was her grandparents and her parent, or maybe her mother or father, I'm not sure which one it was. But it was the grandparents and then one of her parents came to America in the 70s. I think it was 70s, maybe late 60s, something like that. Falsely claimed political asylum, even though they were not asylum seekers, all for that matter. They were literally Islamic terrorists. They came here. They got some bullshit fucking status. Eventually were able to get U.S. citizenship, get naturalized, and then her ass was born on U.S. soil sometime later is what it was then. And this is the problem when you have these second and third generation people like that, because they're the most radicalized version of Islam in most cases. And that's exactly what Rashad Tlaib is right now, dude. That's exactly why Dearborn, Michigan is an Islamic hellhole right now, what it is. And that's exactly why her bitch ass is even in power at all, for that matter, in Congress, is because she's literally in Dearborn there. And it's just this takeover of what it is, dude. It's the same thing with Somalia. It's the same thing with the congressional district Ilhan Omar represents there in Minnesota. You had millions of fucking Somalis imported under Obama's administration there is what it was. And that is her voter base. And that's also the biggest hotbed for Islamic terrorism outside of the Middle East right now is Ilhan Omar's congressional district in Minnesota. There is what it is. So it's like, why are we allowing this shit to go on to American people right now? I don't know if it's laziness of the American people at this point. I don't know if it's people don't understand this shit's actually happening and don't just turn a blind eye to it and don't care what it is, or what the hell it is, dude. But I'm just so sick and tired of it right now. And I know for a fact I'm not the only one, dude. There's other people out here too that are just like, no, this is fucking bullshit. Like, what the fuck? This is ridiculous. Why are we letting this happen right now? So, yeah, needless to say, it's time for a fresh start, really, is what it is, dude. And I think it starts with the AG's office. It starts by getting somebody good in there again. It starts by getting somebody who's all about the Constitution, Bill of Rights, etc., cares about the Second Amendment, actually wants to see Second Amendment rights advanced, etc., there, and is willing to do the advancement there, and at the same time willing to, get on the horn to all these other various heads of stuff and start doing mass deportation stuff and start doing blanket, yeah, you've committed crime to get into this country, you're fucking gone for life, dude, get the fuck out, or we'll get you the fuck out. Kick you the fuck out by force is what it is then. So, but yeah. I don't know. I think in a just world we'd already have this shit done with, but unfortunately we don't live in a just world. We live in a fucked up retardation of multiple generations of Democrats in federal power right now is what it is. Where you got 90s Dems and Trump, Vance, etc. there. And then you got the 2026 fucking mental hospital Democrat Party is what it is now. They're just suicidal empathy and all about just killing off the American people to replace us with their fucking third world trash is what it is, man. So, yeah. I definitely think there's a civil war on the horizon right now is what it is, though. And I think it would basically turn into a race war very quickly. I actually think it would turn into a racial holy war. It's what it is right now, where it would be both race-based and religious-based at the end of the day then. But I also see some bad shit happening if something's not done very soon is what it is, which I really think, honestly, there are so many Islamic sleeper cells in this country and there are so many Chinese sleeper cells in this country right now that are not being, and that's another thing too, by the way, with Trump. If he wanted to be good as a president right now, what he would be doing, and this should have happened a year ago at this point, honestly, he should have been finding and recruiting a whole bunch of military vet guys that were mercenary types and just making them into QRF teams and then just having those quick reaction forces go after various sleeper cells on U.S. soil. And then it should have been at this past season he should have, his first thing he opened with was a video montage of maybe these guys got body cams or something on then. like showing what they were doing to deal with fucking Islamic terrorism in this country. And it's just them working on a bunch of Islamic terrorist sleeper cells, and that's what it is. So, but unfortunately, that was not done when it should have been done. And I don't know if it's too late now to do that or not, but yeah, like that would be one thing. But that being said, obviously, again, going back to everything I was talking about earlier, the QRF stuff is not technically legal, but it's like a weird, like, skirt around kind of deal what it is there. If you watch that that show Lioness that Tyler Sheridan did, it basically explains that in the first season. That's basically how they're skirting around shit. Is like, I think it's like CIA or something like that, or one of the Fed agencies like that or whatever. Around like the whole standing army thing it is. But the thing is, in that particular season though, is that's exactly what they do. They go into fucking various places there and are taking out like actual threat. Or maybe it was season 2 actually this year. I forgot that was season 1, but maybe it's season 2 now. Think about it. Either way, it's one of the two. But yeah, it's at some point between like season 1, season 2, somewhere in there, that they did a whole thing, and it's them literally going into a house, I think it's someplace in Texas, and dealing with like cartel stuff that's going on there, and killing a bunch of cartel members off of what it is then. And that's another threat too, by the way, is a lot of cartel stuff right now. Because not only do you have the Islamic terrorist sleeper cell threat, you have the Chinese sleeper cell threat, you have cartels doing stuff on U.S. soil right now. And I'm talking about specifically cartels in Mexico doing stuff on U.S. soil right now. But then not only that, you have all these different gangbangers from other various Latin American countries that have come up in these various caravans in the past like 5-6 years under fucking Cheater Biden and company. So what you end up with then is you basically have, and it's also going back to the Islamic terror cells and stuff like that. That's how a lot of these motherfuckers got in, was under Biden's administration there. You had them basically sneak in with these caravans of people and stuff like that. And that's why you had those people, when you have these investigative reporters like Savannah Hernandez and company like that is what it is there. And they'll go out there to the desert and stuff, and they'll go, like, if this is the Mexican side of the border, whatever the case, this is the U.S. side of the border, and then there's like this little river crossing right there is what it is, where it's like a creek you can basically walk over. So you'll have them here on the, so this side would be the U.S. side of the border, this side would be the Mexican side of the border, and then you got the creek in the middle there is what it is. So you'll have them walk over through the little creek into the Mexican side of the border, walk about maybe 50 feet or so behind a rock, and there's just all kinds of passports, all kinds of IDs, all kinds of, various identifiers is what it is of these people that are either half burned or torn up to shreds and stuff like that. And it's because these are the same fucking invaders, these are the same terrorists that are burning that stuff, torching that stuff, tearing it up, ripping it up, breaking it up, doing whatever they can to basically destroy their identities is what it is there, so that they can then come into America, seek bullshit fake asylums, what it is there, under the claim that they don't have any identifiers or whatever the case be, or identifying information is what it is there, where in reality, if they actually have those IDs and stuff on them there, those passports on them what it is there, they would be immediately either shipped back or killed is what it is, because they'd be directly tied to terrorists is what it is. And what's even more insane is when you start looking into it, I believe it was either the end of Trump's administration the first time around, or it was the beginning of Biden's unconstitutional ones, what it was there, where it was just 4 years of cheating is what it was. You had entire databases of Islamic terrorists that were being held as databases by our federal government, there's what it is, that were all erased to make space for some bullshit, dude. So you had there was entire databases of literal threats to the American people that were just wiped out in the past 5-6 years now. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? And then you wonder why people like me get pissed is what it is, dude. And it's like, that's why. I wonder why people like me want to complete reset is what it is there, dude. And it's like, that's exactly why, dude, because we need to get rid of these fucking threats to our country. We need to get rid of these threats to our people is what it is, man. Enough is enough of this shit. It's fucking stupid. We should be having We shouldn't even need databases on these fucking terroristic threats because they should be in the fucking ground is what it is, dude, for real. Like, we should have Moab their fucking piece of shit nation to a goddamn glass ceiling is what it is then. 20 fucking years ago is what it is. So, like, that's the entire thing, dude. The entire Middle East back in, like, 2003 should have been a fucking sea of glass at that point, honestly. After 9/11. That should have been the responsibility by the American government and the American military is what it is then. So, but instead we just let all the fuckery happen, and then we're importing these fucking people into our country and just allowing this takeover to happen now is what it is, dude. And by we, I don't mean like we the people are doing this. I mean the shitty ass powers that shouldn't be in the government are doing that crap is what it is there. So, yeah, a lot needs to change, and obviously it starts with a new AG, obviously, right now. But who's to say it's not just going to be the same fucking thing over and over again then? But who knows, man? I don't know. I'm just sick and tired of all of it right now. I can tell you that right now. So, but, yeah, if you guys are interested, check out our secondary Ohio Patriot Education Network channel. It would be the, it wouldn't be the red and blue. It would be the... I'm trying to see if this one actually has it on here or not. My avatars. I guess we don't. Yeah, it would be the one that's just like white and black, basically, as the Patriot Education Network banner thing there. That's where I put up that interview between Chris Dorr and Jay Edwards a little bit ago here, and of course you can find that link. It would be the last post on the Ohio Patriot Education Network X page then. So it's worth watching. It's worth the 30 minutes of your time to watch that video if you're an Ohio voter there, because Jay lays out a bunch of good stuff there. He basically lays out why he needs to be treasurer come 2027 here in Ohio, and just all kinds of fuckery going on between Kasich and DeWine as the last two governors of the state right now. And yeah, I think a lot of us are just sick and tired of it. I think, and that's another thing too, I think most of us are just sick and tired of Vivek's ass being pushed upon us and these fucking scumbags in the Ohio GOP trying to basically stop a primary from happening completely is what it is there. And then of course you got these stupid ass pages on Facebook and stuff like that now coming out and being like, oh, all these people are anti-Indian and they're hating on Vivek because of his Indian heritage. It's like, no, we hate this motherfucker because he's a criminal, because he literally did the exact same crimes as that Martin Shkreli guy. Should have been in prison decades ago for securities fraud and other fucking federal felonies, but instead was allowed to do all kinds of shady shit, the exact same crimes, like I said, that Martin did, that got him in prison for that securities fraud crimes and stuff like that. And yet now Vivek's a billionaire because of all that shit, dude. And then the most recent Vivek shit now is that this dude embezzled over $10,000 in campaign funds to go do a personal trip to Puerto Rico for like a family vacation or some crap like that's what it is there, dude. And mind you, back in 2022, a guy named Joe Blysten was running the Republican primary then. I think that dude embezzled, like he did like a weird little embezzlement of like $500 to $1,000 in campaign funds, and has been banned for like the next 6 or 7 years from even running. He did like 30 or 40 days in jail here is what it is too, for that matter. And it's like, it's such a double standard, dude. And it's such bullshit. And that's my biggest gripe with Trump, honestly, is that he's backing pieces of shit like Vivek for these governorships, when it's like, dude, you were endorsing the worst possible fucking candidate ever. Like, we don't want this man. Get him the fuck out of here. Like, he's an anchor baby sack of crap, dude, who really should be banned from, like, honestly, and going back to that even, like, Vivek illegally ran for president, dude. He is a literal anchor baby of 2 foreign nationals. His mother was not a U.S. citizen until he was at least 18 years old, back in 2003. He did an illegal campaign for the presidency. He should be in jail for that alone, is what it is, dude. But yeah, he's not in prison cell right now for that shit. Like, it blows my mind, honestly, how we're allowing this criminality to go on nowadays, what it is. And I could get into Vivek's ties to the lockdowns back in 2020 that should see him in prison for crimes against humanity and stuff like that. Same thing with Amy Acton here in Ohio. She basically led to all that stuff. So, yeah, there's it's just so much criminality here in this state. I'm just so sick and tired of it, bro. Like I said, if it was up to me, I'd just snap my fingers and it would be a complete reset of everything right now. And it would just be constitutionality everywhere is what it is then, dude. And we'd be a true constitutional republic again and not this weird fucking fuckery of like pseudo direct democracy horseshit is what it is. So, but, and like weird oligarchy crap and like technocrat crap is what it is there. And there's a bunch of other kind of garkies basically, but yeah, I'm not gonna get into all that right now is what it is. So there's really too much to get into. It'd be like another 4 hours to be here for. There's not time for that right now. So, because I really got to do my list for tomorrow's what it is then. For various candidate endorsements for Freedom Friday then. But yeah, we'll do that tomorrow around like this, probably around this time, honestly. Maybe a little bit earlier. It depends. I got to go. I'm going to call my cousin up because I want to do a trip up to some places and look into some stuff. Because my LGS has the exact firearm I had stolen 5 years ago that never recovered now. They have that on sale for not quite what I paid for it 5 years ago. It's a little bit more expensive, but not as expensive as it could be. So I'm going to maybe try to reacquire one of those is what it is. Since I still have a shitload of mags for it and stuff. And then that could be another, firearm I could add to the arsenal is what it is then. In case something ever goes down here in the coming months. So, but anyways, that's about it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I will be back tomorrow for Freedom Friday. We will do a Slicey Boy episode either Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure which yet. I'm debating which one I want to do, honestly, because I still want to do that comparison of folding knives that I have right now. It's two different DC-53 steels is what it is there that are pretty nice. But then I also yesterday got in a new DC-53 fixed blade is what it is. It's really nice from GTKII, so that's fun. So actually, while we're here, I do want to talk about these for a sec. I got some solo fish lights in place here in the past couple days. These are specifically for rifles is what it is. It's pretty cool. These are both, I think both these I have here for around $30 on Amazon right now. I think I paid just under that for them because they were on sale or whatever at the time for that big deal days that they had over the other day. So, but yeah, we got this one that's pretty slick. It's got a rail piece on it there, and you can actually mount this to the top of the gut or the top of the fix the rail system on your rifle is what it is there, or you can do it underneath as well too for that matter, or off to the side for that matter. But it's cool. It's got two different buttons here. You got the first one that is a just basic flashlight, and that's the bigger one back here. And you got the secondary one. That's a strobe light there, which is pretty slick. And then this other one, I believe that when you're putting this in place, somehow when you're moving this around, it allows it to like pop into place and or whatever. It can be like a quick detach, whatever. This is slightly larger. It's slightly longer. I do want to point out something on these both. They both have the ability to do a recharge on there with the USB cable. And then, yeah, this one, it's the one light turns on, and then if you double tap, it'll do the strobe. So, but this is also, I think, around 30 now is what it is. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna most likely mount both of these to different rifles I have, that's what it'll be for weapons, lights, and stuff like that. And then go from there, basically. I don't want to put a whole ton of extra weight on the rifle, obviously, but these are not that. This one specifically is not that heavy at all. This one has a little bit more weight to it, it seems like. Yeah, I guess maybe they're about the same, actually. Yeah, I guess they're about the same. They're a few ounces a piece, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, what's nice about this one is that obviously you can put it on the rifle and then have like another. Like you could essentially put this on a rifle, fix it on a rifle, and then either have like an angled foregrip underneath it or have like an actual, grip on there. Then is what it is. Now, granted, would I do that specifically? Probably not, just because I wouldn't want to have it be something where you would have that one anchor point on it be like holding up everything, basically. Because to me, if it goes bad or whatever the case be while you're shooting, like all of a sudden it could rip off whatever the case be, and then you're just fucked is what it is. And instead of shooting straight, you're like shooting like way low, or you're shooting off to the side or something like that then by accident. So, but I could definitely see doing it. I could see actually doing this on top of a rifle and then putting like a red dot or something up here is what it is, because that'd be pretty cool. And a nice way to have it be, mounted or whatever then. And then that way you could still have the access to be able to push the buttons and be able to do whatever else that's what it is. And have like a sight picture is what it is there. So, but yeah, that being said, it's a little after 4. I got some stuff I gotta do. So I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, stay safe, stay vigilant, always be caring, always be situationally aware, all that good stuff. And I will see you tomorrow for Freedom Friday, which will, like I said, most likely be a bunch of endorsements here at a state level, because unlike Ohio Gunners, we at Ohio Patriot Education Network are not a 501c4 or a 501c3 or anything for that matter, because we haven't gotten those things yet. Apparently you cannot, my understanding is you cannot endorse people if you're a 501c4, which is absolute bullshit, honestly, dude. So maybe we just won't become these things ever, and we'll just be a standardized org is what it is there, or an unrecognized org, I guess, would be there. So, you got to do some pirate shit to do the right things is what it is, man. Because we'll endorse whatever the fuck we want to endorse is what it is there. So, anyway. But yeah, that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow for Freedom Friday. Until then, y'all have a good one. Stay safe. Have a peaceful rest of your Thursday. And be back tomorrow for Freedom Friday. Later, y'all.